Why are you still here? She, Judith Chapman, my boss, looked at me from her side of the desk. She had called me into her office to ask me that? It's not knocking off time. No, that's not what I meant. You have been working here for the last 20 years. You're getting trampled on by all the young guys clambering up the corporate ladder to success. Yet you're still here. Why? This is a question that I have been asking myself for years. Why am I still here? It's not that I love my job. I don't hate it. But let's face it. When you've been doing the same job for as long as I have, it's hard to love it. It's not as if I'll ever get a promotion to something above my present grade. I'm not young and trendy enough for that. It's not as if the other staff consider me to be a friend. Don't get me wrong, they're polite enough, especially when they're picking my brains about something, but they never ask me to join them for after-work drinks. If you really want to know, it's because I'm a coward. What do you mean? Because I'm scared of leaving and looking for another job. I mean, let's be real here. Who in their right mind would take on an old bloke like me? I'm a dinosaur. I can't afford to be out of work. I would have thought that you'd be financially secure. I would have been except for one thing. My lovely wife wanted a divorce and took me to the cleaners in the process. The house that I had almost paid off, single-handedly I might add, suddenly became hers, and I was out on the streets, with not enough money to start over again with a new mortgage. At my age, the chances of getting a mortgage are non-existent, so I'm stuck in a rental house that takes up a large percentage of my money. Don't you have family, kids, that you can call on? By the time she'd got through telling them what a jerk I was, they weren't even speaking to me. Richard, the real reason that I asked you to come in is, do you know why it is that I'm in this office instead of you? Because I stuffed up my interview? I don't know. No. If the truth be known, you interviewed better than I did. When Henry resigned, he recommended you as his replacement as manager. For whatever reason, the board had other ideas. They didn't want a Henry clone in the chair, so they insisted on advertising the position. The official explanation was that there was very little difference between us as far as qualifications and experience goes, but mine was as an office manager, and that they were introducing what they call an affirmative action policy that says that where two candidates for a position have equal claims, the job should go to the woman to even up the gender imbalance. I guess that's fair enough. No, it's not. You have the right qualifications for this job, and you know more about the running of this organization than anyone else. You should have got it. I'm not much more than a glorified bean counter. What if I don't want the job? Are you telling me that you don't? No. Just what if I don't? Well, then I guess that you just continue to drift through life as you have done since I've been here. But let me tell you, Richard, you're a better man than that. You have the potential to succeed in whatever you put your mind to. It's just a matter of you deciding to do something about it. What do you suggest I do? I can just about do my job with my eyes closed. That's just it. We need all of the staff to be as efficient as you. That way we can run our business more efficiently. Look, years ago, I tried to tell one of the new guys how to speed up his throughput, but he told me in no uncertain terms that I was a dinosaur and that he was top of his class at university and knew all of the latest methods. So, how do you do it? Promise not to tell? Yes. Quantity surveying is knowing as much about the client as it is about the method. I work with several architects and builders that I've known for years. I know both the standard of designs and specifications put out by the architects, and the standard of workmanship that the builders insist on. At every step of the construction process, each relies on the other, and that makes my life easy. Not only can I take off the exact quantities of materials straight from the drawing, but I can set out such things as timber lengths so that orders can be submitted to the suppliers to minimize handling in the assembly process. For instance, I went and got a plan that I'd been working on from my desk. From this plan, I can take measurements of this stud wall and give the timber supplier exact to the millimeter lengths of the top and bottom plates, the wall studs, noggings, and cross braces. These builders still use timber bracing. I can also set out the spacing of the studs so that the supplier can cut the housing joints in the plates and in the studs for the braces. Each component of each section of frame is numbered so that the first fix carpenters can lay it out and assemble it quickly. I know how long it takes for them to assemble each section of wall frame because I've watched them do it, so I can calculate with a high degree of accuracy the labor cost involved. These builders all have a reputation for quality of work with few, if any, add-on costs due to unforeseen problems. But if they don't use nail guns, don't they spend a lot of time hammering in nails? No. And this is the good part. One of the builders used a bit of lateral thinking to come up with a device that can shoot in normal wire nails almost as fast as using a nail gun. The carpenter feeds a nail into the machine and places the point where the nail is to go and pushes down on the machine and it bangs the nail in. Simple. I've never seen anything like that advertised. And you won't. The guy that designed it has it patented and has only built enough for the other builders. He doesn't plan to make any more. It must have cost a fortune to develop, surely. Not as much as you'd think. The basic operation was modified from existing machines, and the other builders helped with the development on the understanding that they would be the only ones to have one. The architects and I helped out as well, but we didn't ask for, or expect, any return on our investment, apart from exclusive access to work. Don't you have problems if the timbers get mixed up? That will never happen. Look at this wall frame. I pointed to a section of wall framing. The top plates for the outside walls are numbered, starting from 1 in red to tell the carpenters which section of the wall it is. Then TPI, or TPO, to indicate which side faces in or out. The same goes for the bottom plates, except that they are marked BPI and BPO. The studs are numbered from the left always, and the cross brace is marked I or O as required. All of the components for each wall section are bundled together, so that they can't get mixed up and transported on site. The carpenters lay the frame out on the floor, place corner clamps on each corner to ensure that the wall is square, and while one goes around with his tube of construction adhesive squirting a dollop on each joint, another follows him with the nailer. I have seen them assemble and erect a whole section of wall frame in just 20 minutes. But if the supplier does all of that cutting out, doesn't it cost more for the timber? The initial cost is higher, but because the supplier has the proper machinery to do the job, we find that the added cost is more than defrayed by the on-site cost savings. Swings and roundabouts. I have been to the timber supplier's factory and watched them machining a wall section. Once the plates and studs are cut to length and marked up, the plates are clamped together in special clamps and moved along a bench that has a radial arm saw with a special cutter wheel on it that is set to the width of the housing joint. As the 2 plates are fed in by an offsider, the cuts are made, each taking less than 5 seconds. Once that has been done, the plates are laid on the ground and the studs slotted in. It is squared up and clamped with similar clamps as those that the carpenters use in assembly, and the cross, braces marked out. The studs then go through the same process as the plates, only this time the saw is set at the correct angle for the cut. Even the noggings where the braces cross them are cut out. All of the housing joints can be cut out in under 10 minutes, and the whole process takes little more than 15. All the wall framing for a 3-bedroom house can be cut and packed in under a day. Assembly takes less than a day, so you can see why these guys are so successful. It costs little, if any, more than the standard construction, but they can guarantee that every wall is plumb, every corner is square, and it ain't gonna move. Do you know, sitting here with you and listening to you talking about your work, I realize now that you aren't the dull, boring old man that everyone thinks you are. Underneath that gruff exterior is a man who takes great pride in not only his own work, but supporting others who take similar pride in theirs. This really does confirm what the books tell me. What lying books would they be? I need to get to know you much better, she said, changing the subject. And do you know what I'm going to do? No, but I'm sure that you'll tell me. I'm going to take you to dinner and over some truly excellent food and even more excellent drinks. You and I are going to get to know each other better. Won't your husband get upset if you're going out with me? He would, if he ever found out about it. But that would be impossible. How can you be sure of that? I could even tell him myself. I don't think so. You see, he's spread all over the place. I tossed his ashes off a cliff and they blew everywhere. Oh, in that case, I can't see that there will be a problem if you and I have dinner together, can you? None whatsoever. Shall we go? We went. She was right. The food was truly excellent, only surpassed by the drinks. I know that you've had a rough trot of it since your wife decided that you were surplus to requirements and traded you in on a newer model, and that for a while, you were a little hard to live with. Only a little. You've obviously been listening to the wrong people. The general consensus seemed to be that I was rather difficult to deal with. I was being polite. I fully understand what you were going through, which is more than I can say for your work colleagues. In your position, I would have taken a time out and got away from it all. But you aren't me. I couldn't let my clients down. I'm sure that they would have understood. They did. A meeting of all parties concerned was called at which they unanimously agreed to support me in any way possible while I sorted my life out. This support included dinner invitations on a regular basis and putting me in touch with a computer geek who came up with a program that does most of my work for me. If the truth be known, the majority of my work can be done in half the time that I spend on it, and most of it I do at home. What I do in the office is to mainly check the figures and to tweak the program around any design and method changes. What I don't understand is, with your knowledge and the system that you have in place, why are you still working for Halston's? Purely financial. In my divorce settlement, my wife got half of my superannuation entitlements up to the date of separation. If I quit my job now, I'll have a bugger all to live on. But if I stick it out until I'm 65, I get my full entitlement, at least what's left of it. What do you do with your spare time? I try to play golf as much as possible. I'm not that good at it. What's your handicap? Lack of coordination mainly. I can tell you after my first tee shot how it's going to go. If I nail that first stroke, it has only one way to go from there, downhill. And I'm sure that it's not that bad. How would you like to play around with me? When you say around, is that one word or two? We are talking about golf here, aren't we? Yes, I'm talking about golf. Well then, yes, I would like to play around with you. When did you have that in mind? I emphasize the A-round separation. How does Saturday morning sound? Sounds good to me. What time? Early. Tee off at 8:30, okay? Sure. Where? Grange. Do you want to meet me there, or would you like me to pick you up on my way past? I would like that, if it's no bother. Good. Now would you pour me another drink while I go to the little girl's room? The part of my mind that was present and functioning was wondering what was happening here and where it was leading. Until today, I was drifting through life on autopilot, not taking in what was happening outside my narrow existence. And then, this. I'm not complaining, mind you. It's just so unexpected. I didn't even think she knew I existed. We had barely spoken up until today. I certainly hadn't gone out of my way to initiate a conversation with her, and she seemed so preoccupied with running the business that I didn't feel that I should interrupt unless it was necessary. That's a relief, she said as she sat down. What are we having for dessert? I hadn't really thought about it. What are you having? I confess to being partial to their creme caramel. I'll have the same then. It had been years since I had tasted one of these. The waiter was summoned and the order given. Now where were we? Apart from the odd game of golf, what else do you do in your spare time? I experiment with house designs. I have a home design program on my computer that I use. It's a glorified CAD program. The one that I'm working on at present is a sort of radical modern take on a traditional design that is thermally efficient and energy self-sufficient. The basic footprint is a large square, and the roof is a square-hipped roof. It has a large veranda on all sides to keep the heat from the outer walls. The apex of the roof is a glass pyramid cupola to allow light into the central full-height atrium. It is double-glazed to reduce heat penetration. The central atrium is octagonal over an open-spaced kitchen with a utilities area behind it. One of the architects has offered his design expertise and experience with the planning process to get the plans through the council approval stage, while one of the builders has offered to build it at as close to cost as possible. If I work to 65, my super payout should just about cover it. I'd like to see your plans if you would let me. I'll bring them in tomorrow. I know that you're out of practice at taking a hint. I guess that I'll have to spell it out for you. I would like to see your plans tonight. Oh, I don't know about that. My place is not fit for entertaining. Housekeeping is not one of my strong points. When I get engrossed in work or a project, it is a fair way down the priority list. And you're going to let a little thing like a messy house prevent you from showing off your plans. You'll have to do better than that to keep me from seeing them. You don't give up, do you? Now I know why you're so good at your job. Flattery won't get you out of this. She stood and waited for me to follow suit. As we left the restaurant, she signaled, with her index finger waving over the palm of her left hand, that they were to put tonight's meal on her tab. Good night, Ms. Cameron. Did you enjoy your meal? Yes, it was excellent, but then I expect nothing less from you. Be sure to come again soon. Maitre D's smiling face bowed slightly to her. Always. And you know that. You obviously eat here often. As often as I feel like. Alone, or do you only take guests here to show off? Don't you get jealous of me? I've been known to have guests, but mostly it is by myself. It's a case of self-preservation on my part. I'm scared that I might poison myself with my own cooking. Come now, it can't be that bad, surely. Almost as bad as your housekeeping. And how would you know about... I stopped, deafened by the penny dropping. She was making sure that I didn't worm my way out of showing her the plans. All right, I'll show them to you. Do you want to leave your car here, and I'll drop you back after you've seen the plans? Or would you rather follow me? What I want is to leave my car here, and you can drop me here in the morning on your way to work. Oh. My brain rusted from lack of use. The brain was slowly realizing that she was merely using the plans as an excuse to spend the night with me. I didn't know how to handle this situation. Much as I wanted to feel once more the close personal contact with a woman, a good-looking woman I had to admit, I didn't want to relinquish control of my life to her. I have had experience with ceding control to a woman, and it was a bitter experience that I had no great desire for a repetition of, and I know that last sentence was not grammatically, but incorrect, but in my confusion, I didn't give a shit about syntax. You'd better come with me then. I'll play it by ear, and hope to retain control of the situation. You're worried that this is moving too fast for your comfort zone to handle. Don't worry, I won't bite you unless you want me to. Damn, now the meaning of that last statement had a definite, intimate meaning to it. No biting, I can't handle pain of any sort. Consider me warned. Pleasure it will have to be then. The leer that she gave me left me in no doubt as to her intentions. Look, to put your mind at ease, I am not some sort of piranha out to devour any male that I can get my hands on. If the truth be known, I'm as scared of this as you are. I have had nothing more than a couple of casual encounters in the past 5 years since my husband died. Unsatisfactory casual encounters. I have been trying to find someone that I could love and want to be with since then, unsuccessfully until now. I have been keeping an eye on you for some time. There is just so much that you can learn from personnel records, and they don't give you any indication of the real person. Behind that great wall of China that you hide behind is a man that I want to get to know very much. Does that scare you? No. I have to admit that I've given no thought to a new relationship, and while I find you interesting, I have deliberately kept my thoughts to myself and you at arm's length. I do not want to expose myself to a woman ever again. Does that mean, no scrub, I won't mention intimacy again? Here we are, I said as I turned into my driveway. It's nothing fancy. I wasn't looking to impress when I leased it. I opened the front door and ushered her inside. She looked around as she took her coat off and draped it over a lounge chair. Nice, messy, but nice. It has that lived-in look. She had run a finger along the shelf that contained my collection of vinyl albums and looked closely at it. No dust. Would you like a cup of coffee before you look at the plans or after? I asked. How about during? I went into the kitchen to make the coffee. It's only instant, I'm afraid. I called over my shoulder as I spooned coffee into cups. Instant's fine. You've got some good stuff here, she said, reading an album cover. Yeah, I've been collecting since I was a kid, and just couldn't stop. On weekends I trawl garage sales looking for good quality albums. I have over 300 at last count. Do you ever listen to them? Only on special occasions. Most of them have been burnt to CD so that I don't damage the albums by playing them too much. I think that there is a better sound quality from vinyl played on a good turntable through good speakers. And you have all of that, of course? Of course. Do you mind if I play something? No, help yourself. What else could I say? I wasn't going to tell my boss to get her sticky fingers off my good albums. Soon the house was filled by the sounds of Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops playing Rhapsody in Blue. What made you choose that? I asked, as I walked into the living room with a tray on which were 2 cups of coffee, milk, sugar, and a plate with a couple of slices of cake. Memories. Her eyes were closed, and there was a smile on her face as she swayed to the music. Good ones, obviously. The best. She was quiet for several minutes. Now I'm going to have to add tonight to those best memories. The record had finished, and the coffee was approaching cold before she had finished formatting the blank file in her personal memory bank ready to add tonight, and what I assumed was about to happen to it. The arm lifted off the record, and the turntable switched itself off, bringing her back to the present time. I'll nuke this coffee and bring it back to a drinkable temperature, shall I? Forget the coffee! Show me your plans! I led her to my office that was dominated by a large drafting table. I took a document tube from a shelf, extracted the plans and spread them on the table, turning the shielded light on in the process. I'm surprised that you have a drafting table. I thought that you did everything on a computer. I do my rough sketches on this before I commit anything to the computer. I find it hard to visualize anything on a screen. Once I see the rough sketch on paper, I then set about inputting it onto my computer. When I'm finished and happy with the result, I load the files onto a memory card and take it to one of my architect friends, and he runs them off on his plan printer, and I end up with something like this. This is very impressive. I see what you mean about a modern take on a traditional design. Very energy efficient, I think. Yes. The veranda all around keeps the sun off the outer walls in the summer and allows the sun on them in winter. Those movable louvres along the top, under the gutters, are tilted down in the summer, keeping the sun from the lower half of the wall. There are ventilators that expel any warm air that penetrates through the blockwork outer wall before it can penetrate the inner walls. In the winter, the sun is allowed onto the outer wall, and the warm air rises in the cavity and is then directed into the rooms. It is an ambient heating system on a large scale. This will cut down on the energy usage and costs quite significantly. She looked closely at the plans and the detailed drawings, making comments and asking questions as she went. Eventually, she stood up and looked at me. This is very impressive. Why is it that you never studied architecture? If you look closely at these plans, you'll realize that apart from a few innovations of my own, this is made up from a collection of other people's ideas. I began studying architecture, but found the pressure of coming up with new ideas all the time was very stressful. On the other side of the coin, working on a production line, I found it too boring. With quantity surveying, at least doing it my way, allows me to be involved in the whole process from design to completion. You are an amazing man, do you know that? Nothing like those young guys at work think at all. To them, you're an old man who has outlived his usefulness and is holding out for a redundancy package. To me, you are a man who has taken a huge kick to the guts and is struggling to come to terms with his situation. Let me tell you this, Richard. You have more living to do before you're ready to pull up stumps, retire, a cricketing term meaning to end the game, and I predict that you will live it to the full. And how am I expected to do that? Firstly, let me help you realize what it means to live life to the fullest, she said. Then she kissed me, long, hard, and with passion. Wait, stop, I said as soon as my lips were free to move. I don't think that this is such a good idea. After all, you are my boss. Have you stopped to think what the rest of the staff would think? Who cares what they think? I've been having thoughts, lustful thoughts, about you for some time, just waiting for the opportunity to do something about it. But what about our age difference? I was scared and fishing for an excuse to stop this before it got out of hand. Again, who cares? I certainly don't. You are not that much older than me. The age gap between me and my former husband was even greater. That's another excuse gone. What if I can't perform in bed? It has been a while and I don't want to embarrass myself when the time comes. Intimacy isn't everything. You're forgetting that I have done without for almost as long as you. What if I can't perform to your satisfaction? It's a two-way street, and we have to meet without hurting each other. If you're scared of the repercussions, why don't we just sleep together? No intimacy. No touching involved? I was still trying to get out of this. I draw the line at no touching. I want to feel your body next to mine. Agreed? Okay, agreed. Hooray! What are we waiting for? She had me by the hand, leading me to where she knew my bedroom to be. One more thing. Don't be too disappointed by my breast. They aren't my best features. Well, I hope you won't be too disappointed with me. Let's just say I'd never make it as a star in the same industry. Sometimes it feels like I'd need a magnifying glass and tweezers to find it. I was prattling to hide how scared I was feeling right now. We shall see what we shall see. She had stripped off and stood in front of me. You have had a few problems, I see. Yes, I had to have a partial mastectomy to get rid of a lump. It's not a pretty sight. I don't know, okay, there's a scar, sure, but it doesn't detract from you the person. I know that it's a cliché, but beauty is only skin deep. No one is perfect. We all have imperfections, and we have to understand that we have to live in the body that we're given. Those women who look at a photoshopped image and go under the knife in an attempt to achieve the same image usually end up looking worse. I could spend a lot of money having hair implants, or getting my male organ enlarged. For what? Hair can be a bit of a hassle sometimes. You need to wash it regularly and spend quite a bit at the hairdresser to keep it neat. Personally, I just give myself a quick number 2 haircut every couple of months, and that does the trick. As for the other, I have found it to be adequate for the occasion. As long as both of us get some sort of physical benefit from loving, I can't see that there should be a problem. Did I actually say us? You said us, she had noticed. Does that mean that you want to try it out on me? Yes. But not tonight. I think that it's a little too soon for that. I hope you don't mind. I sleep in the nude. You don't believe in making it hard for a bloke, do you? I suppose you want me to reciprocate, is that it? Of course, now let's get to bed and get some sleep. She climbed into my bed and pulled the sheets up as far as they could go. I slid in beside her and was immediately hugged by her. No fair, I mumbled as she went to work on me, stroking him and hoping for a response. I wasn't sure that he would rise to the occasion, but he surprised me. I think that he's more than adequate. I had to admit that he hadn't felt anything like this for years. What is a man to do? I kissed her. A hand reached up and held one of mine hard against a breast. What's the matter? Do you want me to stop? I just want to savor the moment for a while. I can't wait any longer. For you? Then their bond overflowed in an intimate embrace. Oh, that was just what a girl like me needed right now. Thank you. She went quiet, and I could hear her breathing slowing to a normal level. That's nice. Now, can we go to sleep? I got no reply. She was already asleep. I was awake. I had been woken in the nicest possible way. I have never been woken like this before. It's usually my alarm clock. I'm not complaining, mind you. I could even get to like it. Don't get your hopes too high. This was a once-off, unless of course the mood takes us down that path. I used to do that for my husband, on special occasions, but then he asked me to stop. That coincided with him not wanting to love me anymore. But I thought, didn't you tell me that yours was a happy marriage? The bits that I chose to remember were happy. But then the big C intervened, and after my operation, he went right off me. He told me that I was no longer a complete woman. Can you imagine how much that hurt me? Probably about as much as being told by my wife that she had found someone better than me, and that she wanted to marry him. We're a sorry excuse for a couple, aren't we? She kissed me before getting out of bed. We are going to have to scramble if we're going to get to work on time. Don't forget, we have to pick up my car. Do we have to? Can't we leave it there until this afternoon and that will save us a bit of time? She was just about to agree when I beat her to the punch. On the other hand, I think that it's about time that you meet a couple of Halston's better clients. Nah! What are you suggesting? I'll make an appointment for us to meet with Jeff Bridewell of Bridewell & Associates, and if possible, some of his builders. We can discuss our long-term relationship with them. That's something that I was meaning to ask you. I couldn't find a formal contract between Halston's and any of the architects that you deal with. That's because there is none. Back in the day when this all began, we had a highly motivated young quantity surveyor who decided to branch out on his own. He went through the company files and contacted all of the clients, trying to grab them for himself. Henry and I went to my little group of clients and discussed the situation with them and decided that we'd enter into a handshake agreement with them so that there would be no formal record of our arrangements. That way any future employee would not be able to try and steal them from us. It's worked pretty well for the past 15 years. I dropped Judith off some 50 meters from work so that we weren't seen arriving together. I cranked up my computer and went through my mindry dearths. Sadortrich. For checking any phone messages. Answering these took up half an hour, and then I got on the phone to Jeff at Bridewell & Associates. Jeff. Richard. Yes. That. Richard. The reason for this call is that I think that it's high time that you guys met my boss, Judith Cameron. Is there anything wrong? No, nothing wrong. She's just curious about the fact that we have been working together on projects for years, and the company knows little about our arrangements. Just that you and the other guys shovel enough work my way to keep me off the streets and out of the poorhouse and provide Halston's with a comfortable profit. Don't worry that she's a woman with an office management background, rather than architectural. She knows her job, and does it extremely well. Is there more to this than you're telling me? I ignored the question. When can we meet? How about lunch at the Nosh Pit at, say, 12:30? Great, we'll see you then. The Nosh Pit, eh? It was a new restaurant that had been getting rave reviews in the trade papers for its innovative cuisine, based around organically produced fresh local produce. Its prices weren't cheap, sort of mid-range, set to keep out the riffraff as well as those people who only dine at places whose prices are so high that only the rich want to be noticed down there. I pushed the intercom button and got Judith. Hi, lover. I enjoyed last night very much. So you told me 1,000 times this morning. Are you free for lunch? Yes. Where are you taking me? We are dining with Jeff Bridewell, and possibly a couple of others, at the Nosh Pit. Sounds great. You'll have to take me. We have to pick up my car. I think that we should let the staff know that this is a business lunch and not, something more personal. You're right. We don't want to gross them out too soon now, do we? When we arrived, we found Jeff seated at a table with 3 other men. Hi, Richard. Good to see you again. I must say that you are looking much better than the last time we met. This lady must have something to do with this. Hi, Jeff. I'd like you to meet my boss, Judith Cameron. Judith, this is Jeff Bridewell. And these other gentlemen are Robert Farquhar from Jones & Farquhar and Milton Robertson from the company of the same name. Pleased to meet you, gentlemen. Richard has told me a lot about you, and I've been dying to meet you for some time. He just hasn't seen fit for this to happen. She extended her hand to each of them. We sat. Jeff signaled the waiter to bring the menus to us. You men and Richard have worked together for some time, I gather? Yes, since not long after he started with Halston's. He impressed us all with his knowledge of his job and the interest that he had in how we had worked closely with our chosen builders for some time. We each gave him an assignment, just to check him out, and found that he was quicker and more accurate with his estimations. Then when he asked us if he could go on site and see how the builders operated, we let him. He explained to us that he could get a more accurate estimation of the labor component of the estimations if he could see how they worked. This proved to be the case, and we as a group decided that it would be he, and only he, who would get our work. Henry had no problem with that arrangement, and a long-term business relationship was born. It has since then developed into a more personal relationship. He has helped us from time to time with suggestions on how to improve our designs, and to the builders on speeding up the building process without compromising on quality. And you helped him out when he needed it, I understand. Yes, we could do no less for a friend. The food ordered, we settled into polite conversation, as the 3 of them sounded Judith out to try to find where she sat and what her ideas were. It was after dessert and over coffee that she spelt it out for us. I have been looking over Halston's performance of late, and I'm not happy with what I see. That got their attention, and mine. Where was this going? The company is performing adequately, but there are inherent problems in the management structure. To put it bluntly, there is too much deadwood, both at board level and among the staff. At times of building boom, there's an increased demand for the services of quantity surveyors. To meet these demands, the industry can do one of 2 things: employ more staff or work smarter with what we have. The former method has its own problems. What we are seeing is a dynamic progression of young, inexperienced staff, all scrambling for better paid positions and using companies such as Halston's to achieve that. I firmly believe that the second method is the better of the 2, because it provides stability within the company and with its clients. They are not confronted with a new person each time they need a job done. She got a nod from the others. What are you proposing? As I've come to know and better appreciate Richard, 2 things stand out. His working relationship with you 3 and with the builders is as near to perfect as I can envisage. He gets paid a base salary that is actually less than that offered to new graduates, simply because he is comfortable with what he's getting and doesn't appreciate that he is worth more than they are. I don't know, and I don't want to know. If you guys slip him a little sweetener from time to time, I suspect not, because that's not how he works, but he should be getting more. Jeff, you're aware of his new house design. I've seen it, and I'm impressed, not the least of which are the new and radical, energy-saving features that he has built into it. The bottom line is that he will probably never, even with the assistance that you have volunteered, be able to afford it. I was feeling embarrassed at what she was saying. while at the same time honored that she should be doing this for me. What I'm going to propose to you, 3, is not going to cost you 1 cent more than you are presently paying. That got their attention. What I am proposing is, with your assistance, to convince this coward that he can do better for himself. And how are we supposed to do that? We all know what a stubborn jerk he can be at times. My aim is to convince him that he and I can set up our own business and cut out the middleman. Richard's salary is around half of what you pay Halston's. That money will be better in his pockets, not theirs. Agreed, Jeff said. The work that he does for you 3 is not quite enough for him to make a comfortable living. Now, if he had his own business and you still paid what you are paying now, there'll be enough for him to live comfortably. If we could find 1 or 2 more architects prepared to give us their work, then we would be able to live very comfortably. It would have to be someone that agrees with your methods. Do you know of any such firms? That's really putting them on the spot. Do they want to have someone join them? Thank God for this woman, Richard, Milton said. We've been wondering when you'd see the light. Halston's do absolutely nothing for the money that we pay them, apart from sending the invoice. You do all the work, and with the systems and procedures that you have implemented, you do it very efficiently and accurately. Extremely efficiently, don't you mean? I asked. All right, extremely efficiently. Without you working with us, we would not work as efficiently as we do, and you save us a considerable amount of money. I don't know about these 2, but I would be willing to cut you in on our cost efficiencies, say 30%. The other 2 nodded their agreement. No, guys, I can't accept that. After all, I'm only doing my job. Look, Robert said, you may think that you're just doing your job, but you've gone over and above the call of duty, so to speak. If one of our employees had come up with a system that had the potential to save us a significant amount of money, we would consider an adequate form of remuneration for his efforts. All that Milton is suggesting is that the same principle should apply to you. Would you accept an ex gratia payment commensurate with the cost savings? I'll think about it, okay? He'll accept, Judith said on my behalf. And another thing, I think that the builders should chip in as well. After all, you've saved them a lot as well. I'll have a chat with my guys this afternoon. I was about to protest, but Judith kicked me in the shins to stop me. We'll work on setting up our business, stuff like a business name, design of stationery, furniture and fittings, IT gear. We'll have to start looking for an office as soon as the decision is made to give up our current jobs. She caught the expression on my face. You didn't honestly think that I was going to stay at Halston's after you'd left, and watch the business go in ever-decreasing circles until it disappears up its own fundament, did you? No, mate, you go, I go, understand. I caught the glances that were exchanged between the 3 architects. I might be slow at times, but I got the distinct impression that they thought that there was more to me and Judith than we had let on. So, you 2, is there something that we should know about? When there is, we'll let you know. But you won't rule out the possibilities then? I was waiting for the kick to tell me to shut up, but it didn't come. Does this mean that she is under the impression that there is more to this? We shall see what we shall see, but we won't rule anything out. Great. That means that we won't have to keep trying to set you up with some women at our barbecues. This was getting too much for me. They were trying to set me up? I looked at my watch. It's time that we get back to work, I said to Judith, tapping my watch face. I'm your boss and genetic superior. Allow me to decide when it's time. How long did you say that you've known each other? Jeff asked. Judith got in ahead of me. We've worked together for the past couple of years, but we've only got to know each other, really know each other since last night. I knew it, Jeff said. I could see something different in Richard. Looks like you had quite the night, didn't you? Yes, he did, and let me tell you, he's no slouch in the cot either. Well, I for one say good luck to the 2 of you, and we look forward to working directly with you. What happened there? I asked Judith as we left the restaurant. What happened, Richard, was the beginning of the realization of your dream. You and I are going to take on the world. You'd better hang on to your hat, because it could be a bumpy ride. In what way? You don't honestly think that Halston's are going to take the loss of their star player lightly, do you? They don't even know that I exist, so why should it bother them? I would have thought that they would be glad to see the back of me. Not when they get the monthly performance data after we leave. I predict that, if they haven't already done it, that will trigger them scurrying off to the lawyers to see if they can take out an injunction preventing us from going into business in opposition to them, especially as we're taking their best and most consistent clients with us. But if there is no formal arrangement between Halston's and them, How can they claim that we were stealing their clients? They will think that they can, because they probably don't realize that there is no formal arrangement, and if they try it, we can counter with a suit for restraint of trade. This isn't something that's come to you in the past 24 hours, is it? No, I've been thinking about it for some time. We had arrived back at work. We still hadn't picked up her car, so further discussion on the topic had to be shelved for some time, and we had to behave as if nothing was going on between us. At just after 4 San, I got a call from Jeff. Richard, I think I've found the perfect office for you. It's in our building, up on the 3rd floor. When can you come and have a look at it? Why do I get the impression that you're more anxious about this happening than I am? Because we've wanted you to do this for ages. Now when can you come over to have a look at it? Ed, how about after work this evening? Will that be too late? No, that's fine. I'll let the building manager know that I might have found a new tenant for him. He'll be pleased because it has only just today become vacant, so he won't have to advertise it through an agent. I'll let Judith know. We'll see you later. During the tea break, Judith came in just after me. That gave the other staff time to leave me alone. Jeff has found us an office in his building. He wants us to go over and check it out after work. Will that be a problem for you? No. Why should it be? I get to be with you again, and we're getting even closer to getting out of this place. Have you given any thought to our business name? I thought that Chapman Sedgwick sort of rolls off the tongue nicely, and that Chapman is closer to the top of the directory listings than Sedgwick. What do you think about that? I thought that Sedgwick and Associates sounded good. After all, you're the head honcho. I have to disagree with you on that one. You, my dear, did I just call her that, are the driving force of this enterprise. I'm afraid that I'm going to have to insist on my idea. Well, if you insist. I was surprised that she gave in so easily. This is a first for me. It is the first time that I have insisted on having my own way with a woman. Normally I'm so scared of upsetting them that I bow to their decision. Jeff met us at the front door of his office building and took us up to the 3rd floor. It wasn't a huge space as offices go, but then there would only be the 2 of us initially. Well, what do you think? I like it. What about the services, phone lines, and data cabling, you know, the usual stuff? That's all here, plus you have your own mini kitchen. There won't be any banquets or anything like that, and toilet facilities. What more could you ask for? What sort of rent are we looking at? As a favor to me for finding a tenant so quickly, the agent has arranged for the first 6 months to be rent-free, and after that, he's open to negotiations. What? I can hardly believe it. From my experience, landlords often seem quite reluctant to offer much, and it feels like they don't make things any easier. How dare you talk about your best friend like that? What? Why do you keep saying that? Yes, I own the building. The previous tenant was kicked out yesterday for non-payment of rent. He was never going to make it. He had all of the business acumen of a new tenant. Well, are you going to take it? I looked at Judith. She looked at me, smiled at me, and nodded. Chapman Sedgwick now had an office. Things were moving ahead in leaps and bounds. I'd almost arrived home when I got the distinct feeling that I had forgotten something. Have I forgotten something? I asked Judith. We haven't picked up my car yet. I slammed on the brakes and hit my indicator to turn around. Where do you think you're going? To get your car. We can pick it up in the morning. We completely forgot it again. In our defense, we were running very late. Neither of us seemed to be able to find the motivation to get out of bed. As it was, we skipped breakfast. We got to Judith's house before we remembered her car. I'll fix this, Judith said. She had a whiteboard stuck on her fridge door, so she wrote in big letters, "Pickup car." We didn't need the sign, because just as we were thinking of giving her bed a bit of a workout, there was a knock on her door. It was the police wanting to see if everything was okay because the owner of the restaurant that we'd gone to that first night had noticed her car was still in the car park. He was concerned because you were with a man that they hadn't seen before, and it was way out of character for you to leave the car there without notifying them that everything was under control. Yes, everything is very much under control. It's just that I have been extremely busy over the past couple of days and haven't had time to collect it. I'll pick it up tomorrow without fail. And it would be a good idea to let the restaurant people know if you intend to leave it there for any length of time in future, he said. I will, and thank you. Don't thank me. Thank them. They must care for you to take the trouble to check up on you. You might even think about leaving your phone number with them. so that they don't have to bother us in future. I'll do that next time I'm in there. Jeff designed the office fit out in the usual way, with a slight difference. We were trialing a new system that I'd been working on with my computer guru. All walls and partitions were measured with a laser measure that stored the dimensions, including the heights. These plans were downloaded onto my computer, and the sizing program that I had installed printed out cut sizes for all of the framing timbers, timber and glass panels, and doors. These were sent to the timber and hardware suppliers to be cut, and the materials were delivered the next day. The following day, one of his contractors came in and assembled the lot. We went around that evening and were suitably impressed. Everything had fitted. It was now time for a full-scale trial. An IT contractor came in the following day and set up for phone and data cabling, and the telco installed the Wi-Fi modem. We were wired for business. It was now time to bite the bullet and resign from my present job. My formal resignation, citing personal reasons, had barely hit the chairman's desk when he was on the phone. "Why are you leaving?" "It is a personal matter that I'm not prepared to discuss at this time." Fat chance I would discuss anything personal with him. He had never shown the slightest interest in me in the whole time I'd been there. "I have given a week's notice, and would appreciate it if you have all monies and entitlements calculated and deposited in my account before I leave. In return, we would appreciate it if you left all the details of your regular clients with us, so that Halstons can continue to do business with them." "Very well, I have to warn you that there are no formal arrangements with them, and they have indicated that they may shop around for an alternate quantity surveyor." "Have they indicated this to you?" "Yes." "But why are they dissatisfied with the service that they've received from us in the past?" "Not to my knowledge. I would suggest that you should take that up with them personally. Judith's resignation really set a cat amongst the pigeons." "What is happening here? First Richard has resigned, and now you." "It's a personal matter that I'm not prepared to discuss." "Does this personal matter involve Richard? Have you two had problems?" "On the contrary, I have found working with him to have been a wonderful experience, one that I would wish could continue." "I suppose that we will have to advertise for replacements for both the positions." "I suggest that you should do that as soon as possible. Richard has intimated that his regular clients may not wish to continue using Halstons. Do you know anything about this?" "I suggest that this is a matter that you should discuss with them. To the best of my knowledge, they are happy with the service that Richard has provided for them." It hit the fan the next day. "Judith, would you come to my office and bring Richard with you?" We were met by the full board. The chairman was angry. "What are you two up to?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "I have had interesting conversations with Bridewells, Jones, and Farquhar, and Milton Robertson, and they have all told me the same thing, that they no longer wish to do business with Halstons and reserve the right to take their business elsewhere. Would you hazard a guess where they are taking their business?" "Don't tell me. Let me guess. Would it be Chapman Sedgwick by any chance?" "You know damn well that it is. Now listen to both of you, I forbid this. There's a law against poaching business from your previous employer, and if what we've been told is true, then we'll see the pair of you in court. You should seek legal advice before you leap into litigation. We didn't choose them. It was them that chose us. It was the three of them that came to us with the suggestion that if we set up our own business, they would transfer their business to us. It is their prerogative, and they are simply exercising that prerogative. I must admit that I hadn't contemplated this move until it was put to me. The reason that they gave was that there was a very strong working relationship between us, and they wanted to formalize that. There was no formal provider-client relationship between Halstons and them. All dealings that they had with this company, after a disastrous episode involving one of your young hotshot graduates, has been directly and exclusively with me. If they wish to continue that relationship, then I am not going to stand in their way. We'll see about that. I think that it will be best for the both of you to clear out your desks and leave today." "Very well. We will leave as soon as possible. And you will leave all outstanding projects that you are working on for those architects. They are the property of this company." "There are no current projects. But when we checked yesterday, there was one for Bridewells and one for Milton Robertson on the books. They have both been completed and results forwarded to them." "That's impossible. You've only had them for 2 days, and there is no way that you could complete them in that time." "There is, and I did. If you have developed a system that can achieve that sort of result, then that is the property of this company. I think not. If you want to test that in court, be my guest. I was confident that they would not proceed, and even more confident that, if they did, they would be unsuccessful. We packed our gear and left the office, followed by the puzzled stares of the other staff. By pooling our resources, we managed to get the furniture in place and a new computer system installed and running, including a plan printer. The paint was dry, and everything was ready for us to move in. We moved everything that we had brought with us from Halston's into the new accommodation on Thursday, locked the doors, left the keys with Jeff, and took ourselves off for a couple of days of fun and frivolity before beginning this new phase in our lives. It was a quiet little B&B on the coast, overlooking a sandy beach with headlands at each end. There was a hotel that served good meals in its dining room and had excellent drinks. We walked and talked along the beach for hours, the sand between our toes, the wind and spray in our hair, what there was of it in my case, the sounds of seagulls in our ears. Between times we had breakfast provided, lunch was at a small fish cafe on the foreshore, and dinner at the hotel, followed by bed, a large comfortable bed, and a bed designed for the sort of action that we indulged in. It was during the quiet time that the decision was made that we should marry. While I don't think it's imperative, I would love for us to get married. Judith, will you marry me? Richard, of course I will. I've been luxuriating in just being with you for the past couple of days and thinking to myself that it can't get much better than this, and you go and prove me wrong. It has just got better. She kissed me. We must look a treat, me with my less than perfect breast swaying in the breeze, you with the light glistening off your head. We're a couple of playful old souls, acting like teenagers who've sneaked off for a dirty weekend away from their parents. I kissed her mildly deformed breast. They are beautiful breasts, not perfect, but beautiful nonetheless. So what if they bounce a little more than they would have when you were younger? That is just a part of growing old, that we can't do much about. I, for one, am going to enjoy looking at them, touching them, and kissing them. I punctuated my comments by kissing. Judith smiled down at me. At the rate that we were going, we'd need another week off, just to recover. The time that it takes to plunge from euphoria to despair is, it turns out, around 15 minutes. We had just opened the office when a man appeared at the front desk. We were presented with a court injunction preventing us from entering into any formal arrangements with Bridewell and Associates, Jones and Farquhar, and Milton Robertson. A court date for hearing of this injunction was set for Tuesday at 10 Bacrars. It was time to marshal the reinforcements. The magistrate sat behind his desk and put the injunction down to look at Halston's solicitor. In this injunction, you claim that the defendants not only poached your clients, but took with them when they left certain computer systems that you claim are the property of Halston's. Would you like to explain this to the court? Mr. Sedgwick has been an employee of Halston's for some time, and during his tenure with the company, he did design some systems that he used to, he claims, significantly speed up the processes associated with his work. We, the plaintiffs, claim that this was developed as an employee of this company, and, as per the employer-employee agreement, remains the property of the company. As to the poaching of Halston's clients, these companies have employed Halston's over the past 20 years to carry out quantity survey work for them. They were clients even before Mr. Sedgwick began working for Halston's. They were Halston clients. George Bradford, the solicitor hired to represent us in this matter, rose to his feet. Halston's claimed that Mr. Sedgwick developed the systems as an employee of Halston's, and because of this they remain the property of that company. Mr. Sedgwick did not develop any of the systems in question. He merely, at the request of the system engineer, acted as one of several consultants hired to provide input as to the functions carried out in the quantity surveying section of an all-encompassing process. This system is a registered design of the developers, not Mr. Sedgwick. As to the other matter, some 20 years ago Mr. Sedgwick came to work for Halston's. It is true that the client relationship existed with Halston's and several architectural companies, in particular Bridewell and Associates. It was early on in his tenure that the principal, Jeffrey Bridewell, realized that Mr. Sedgwick demonstrated capabilities at a higher level than the other quantity surveyors employed at that time. He also demonstrated an interest in learning more about the whole construction process, from the concept plans to completion, to further enhance his efficiency. This was encouraged by his previous boss, Henry Halston. Following submissions from these clients, Henry Halston entered into a separate agreement between them that ensured that, while the financial side of the agreement remained the same, the actual work would be carried out by Mr. Richard Sedgwick, and following his separation from Halston's, would transfer to him or to a third party. Under no circumstances would it remain with Halston's. Why would they do that? The magistrate asked. Because, early on in his employ, Mr. Sedgwick approached Henry Halston and mentioned that he had been approached to act as a consultant in the development of an improved system. Mr. Halston approached the company board to seek approval for this to happen, but this approval was rejected on the basis that they would not be a party to any development that was not exclusive to them. Henry entered into a private arrangement and canceled the existing formal agreement between the companies involved. The board accepted this arrangement as long as the financial agreements were maintained. When Henry Halston retired, he recommended that Richard Sedgwick be employed to replace him, but given the somewhat frosty relationship between himself and Halston's, his recommendation was overlooked, and Ms. Judith Cameron was employed in that position. Ms. Cameron observed over time that, while he freely offered his input into the running of the business, this input was declined by management and the younger, less experienced quantity surveyors employed by Halston's. While there was never any friction between employees, there was no inclusion of Mr. Sedgwick. He was considered by the younger staff as a dinosaur, even though his understanding of the latest in computer technology was greater than theirs. Ms. Cameron sought to find out more about the relationship between Mr. Sedgwick and his regular clients, and it was during discussions that the clients encouraged them both to separate themselves from Halston's and create their own quantity surveying company. So you see, this all came about because Halston's failed to recognize that Mr. Sedgwick had a lot more to offer the quantity surveying profession than they gave him credit for. Now they wished to prevent Cameron Sedgwick from carrying out business that was formed specifically as a result of their lack of appreciation for all of the work provided by Mr. Sedgwick over the past 20 years. They have not increased his salary in the past 5 years, even though to attract new graduates they have offered, and paid a higher salary. I don't think that they should be surprised that, having abused him, that he should want to run away. While Halston's concede that there could be some justification for Mr. Sedgwick and Ms. Cameron resigning from the company, the fact of the matter is that Mr. Sedgwick was still an employee, and the employer-employee agreement states that any development made while employed by the company remains the property of the company. Be that as it may, if Halston's had taken a closer look at that employment agreement, they would have realized that, 15 years ago, it changed. Mr. Sedgwick was not an employee of Halston's, but a subcontractor. While they continued to pay him, he provided, using his knowledge and expertise, a service. This agreement is, along with the memo from Henry Halston to the company board, offering to allow Mr. Sedgwick to act as a consultant in the development of a new and improved system, and the memo in reply rejecting that proposition is in this file. He passed it to the magistrate. We move to have the injunction lifted on the grounds that to maintain it constitutes a restraint of trade. The magistrate read the files and looked at both solicitors. I rule that the injunction be lifted, effective immediately. His gavel dismissed both parties. Tuesday night was party night at Judith's, and now my favorite restaurant. Included were Jeff, Robert, and Milton, along with their wives and 5 of the builders employed by the architects, those who were the ones that could drop everything at short notice to join us. The others would get together on Saturday for a barbecue at Milton's. A sign on the door, announcing that the restaurant was closed for a private function, kept any interlopers at bay. Urtensura Maribur. Quan Kaligraman Samburas and Forsters, where were Winham Warton Zanger? Ria. Could I have your attention, please? Who is this guy interrupting our party? Someone asked. Shush, someone else said. Ladies and gentlemen. Where? Ladies and gentlemen, we, Judith and I, have an important announcement. We are going to get married as soon as possible. Don't tell us that you have to. I heard the cheers above. No, we don't have to, but we do want to. Judith said, as she rose and stood beside me, and I kissed her. Wednesday morning, and a very seedy Judith and I called in to see an equally seedy Jeff Bridewell on our way up to our office. I was pacing myself well until you made that announcement, and then I seemed to lose count of how much I had to drink. Luckily, Lucy, his wife, was the designated driver, otherwise I would have had to call a taxi. Surprisingly enough, she didn't give me a hard time this morning. We fully understand. We had to catch a taxi, we couldn't find Judith's car, we left it somewhere. You don't remember having seen it, do you?